Hello, I'm Nikki.
And I'm Brett, and we've started an organization called Unfinished Pieces.
We are the proud parents of 3 boys who are diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. Our story starts with Brody, our oldest son. He was about 2 years old when I noticed some red flags with him with speech. I brought it up to his pediatrician at a checkup, and she kind of pushed it off and reassured us he was fine, but she did go ahead and refer him on to speech therapy.
We ended up enrolling him in the local early childhood program at the school district, and they were able to give him all of the services that he needed. Even though he was doing that, he was still having trouble transitioning from task to task, getting very frustrated.
Learning those frustrations and all the issues Brody was having at school, I had brought up the lingering feeling that I'd always had, and it was the word autism. During that IEP meeting, the room went pretty quiet. I think that's when we both knew. Peyton was about 15 to 18 months old when I started noticing red flags with him. He was just so hard to know if it was in fact autism or if it was his medical history that was causing his delays. When Peyton was 3 weeks old, his brother Chase and him were hospitalized for respiratory virus. Chase handled it well. He did fine considering his age, but it hit Peyton hard. Peyton was in the hospital for a month. 17 of those days he was in the ICU on a ventilator. There was really no reason he should have survived. Every major organ in his body was failing, and the doctors had kind of prepared us to prepare ourselves for the worst. So just the fact that he survived that is a miracle.
As he grew, he still had a lot of lingering effects, but he was able to continue growing. Our priority wasn't necessarily autism, but just to keep him healthy. I guess as he grew, he never really continued eye contact with anybody. He would collect spoons and other objects and tap them on hard surfaces to hear the sound. He would take his iPad and hold it up to his ear and pace back and forth in the living room. And certain things like that from our past education knew were pretty obvious signs of autism.
And Chase, he was the complete opposite. He had a great set of play skills. He maintained eye contact. He just engaged with people more than Brody and Peyton. We just were not convinced that Chase had autism. But because he was a twin, an identical twin, to a brother with such strong symptoms, and he had a brother already diagnosed, we were strongly encouraged to have him evaluated as well. July 31st was a day that will forever be ingrained in me. It was the day that I learned that I was not only the mother to 1 or 2 children, but 3 that were affected by autism.
It was at that point where there was just a lot of unknowns with everything, not just each of our kids individually, how as a family we were going to move forward and get through all of this.
I think I was just shocked. I just wasn't prepared to hear that about Chase. Peyton was not shocked. Nobody was really shocked about Peyton. We were more just happy to have some answers for him. But Chase, he was a curveball. We were not expecting it. I kept asking our doctor, how does he have autism? And she told me all the list of things that she had observed that I had never saw before. Brett had never seen them in him, and luckily she told me that hard news. And even though I didn't want to face it that day, I knew deep down, just because of the respect I had for her, that she was right. She made the right call, and luckily she did, because the days following was so obvious. We saw signs we'd never seen before, and a couple of months after that, Chase started having some really problematic behaviors that needed intervention, and because of the diagnosis, he was able to receive the help he needed.
We're Brody, Chase, and Peyton's aunts, and we'll be sharing some facts about autism that you may or may not have known. Autism affects 1 in 68 children and 1 in 42 boys. Boys are 4 times more likely to be diagnosed with autism than girls. Autism affects everyone differently. No 2 people are the same. Brody, Chase, and Peyton have made such an impact on the both of our lives that they've opened our eyes and our hearts to just want to reach and inspire and educate those around us.
When Brody was first diagnosed with autism, we felt a lot of different emotions. It was a lot to process at first. We felt fearful of what autism meant and what Brody's future was going to look like. And we felt sad because our kids were having to face some challenges that they hadn't thought that they would ever have to even think about. And we also were very relieved to finally have some answers to the suspicions that we always felt like maybe something wasn't quite right and was a little wrong. Then I just thought, you know what, it's okay, whatever word autism means, whatever that held for Brody. He was the same little boy that we had always loved and that we would continue to love and face any challenges that he was going to have to work on. Then when Chase and Peyton were diagnosed with autism, we were kind of surprised that Chase fell on the autistic spectrum. But I think that just goes to show us that the spectrum is really broad and it can encompass a lot of different things. Every child is different, and yet there may be some challenges that they're going to have to face and overcome.
When I first heard Brody's diagnosis, I was really worried about him being accepted. Kind of struggled watching my daughter and my son-in-law go through that because I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know how to help him. I just kept watching her and listening to the information that she was telling us, and just really wanted to get on board with getting educated and watching Brody going through therapies, watching Chase and Peyton going through therapies. It's really opened my eyes. I work at a grocery store and you see a lot of different people come through. Kids, you kind of see them acting out. Your first reaction is like, wow, he's upset, she's upset. And, watching Brody and learning, the different things to help him has really opened my eyes, and I kind of stop and go, wow, there's something going on there. There could be something going on there.
I think with Brody, we as parents, I know me and Sarah, we raised 4 kids, and autism wasn't a word that we even thought about. And we took it for granted, and I think a lot of people take it for granted that they raise their kids, they're healthy, and the word autism, it means nothing to them. I know that Brody started opening my eyes quite a bit. And we have learned a lot from Brody. And I often tell my wife, I said, we're not teaching Brody. We're not teaching Chase and Peyton. They're teaching us. They're giving us valuable lessons. And we take such great pride, and we took for granted just the littlest things that our kids would do. We take such excitement, and we watch Nikki and Brett, and we see the little goals and the things that we took for granted that our kids did that was just everyday life. And when we see those, we're just so proud of them. And I just want to, continue to get educated so that we can be the best grandparents and ambassadors for autism we can be.
I think everybody here will agree that as grandparents, you're going to love your grandkids no matter what. And I think our roles is as a support system for their family. And we are there if they need us for whatever. We will come to the call, and I know the call comes often, but as grandparents, you love it. So we've come to accept everything that has happened in their family.
Unfinished Pieces was born shortly after the twins' diagnosis. Nikki came to me, and she thought that with our unique situation and going forward as we go through our lives, it would be a great opportunity to not only make a difference, but to help educate people along the way.
I just want to help people going through this journey because it's There's just so many unknowns going forward, and I know that God gave me these boys for a reason, and I feel like this is our reason. Like, we need to help people, we need to make a difference, we need to educate, and we just want to offer whatever we can to help. The sky's the limit with what we want to offer people, and we don't want it to be anything specific. We just, what do you need? What can we help you with? Where can we direct you? That's really what we want to do. So, and we just feel like we can. We feel like we can do that.